I wasn't supposed to hear it. It was a random Sunday evening. I'd just gotten off a double shift at the diner and called my parents, half expecting the usual small talk. How's work? Are you eating enough? Still single? They sounded distracted, rushed. Sweetheart, we'll call you back, Mom said. Your father's about to start the grill. Okay, I laughed, exhausted. Love you guys. Love you too, she said, and then the line didn't click off. At first all I heard was the shuffle of plates, the clatter of cutlery, the faint hum of a TV. Then my mother's voice, casual, almost amused. Honestly, I don't know how she manages. Living with her must be miserable. My stomach tightened. Dad chuckled. You're telling me. She's always been heavy, hasn't she? Too sensitive, too emotional, always turning everything into drama. Then my sister Olivia piped in, her tone light, cruel, practiced. She's just lonely. She wants someone to feel sorry for her. That's her thing, playing the victim. Laughter followed. 3 people I loved, laughing like it was a joke. And that's when I realized, the call was still connected. They never hung up. I listened, frozen. Every word stabbing deeper. We can't keep pretending she's doing well, Mom said. She barely makes rent, eats takeout, dresses like a teenager. I told her she should just move back home. Olivia giggled. Oh yeah, that'd be fun, she can live in the basement again. Maybe she'll finally feel important. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I hung up. Then I sat there in my silent apartment, the kind of silence that buzzes in your bones, realizing that the people who raised me didn't just doubt me, they pitied me. My name is Rachel Moore. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because have you ever been treated like a burden by the people who were supposed to be your home? That night I didn't cry. I didn't call back. Instead I replayed the call, every insult, every laugh, until it burned into my memory like a scar I could never unhear. And somewhere between anger and heartbreak, a thought began to bloom, quiet at first, then louder with every replay. If they thought I was weak, I'd let them see what weakness could do when it broke its leash. That was the night I stopped being their disappointment and started being their reckoning. For 3 days I didn't answer their calls. 3 days of silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that hums beneath your ribs, waiting to erupt. I went to work, smiled at customers, poured coffee for strangers who said thank you more sincerely than my family ever had. Then on Thursday night my phone buzzed again, a text from Mom. Family dinner this weekend. Be here by 6. Don't be late, red heart. Like nothing happened. Like they hadn't carved me open with their laughter. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. I should have ignored it, should have deleted it and gone on pretending I didn't care. But curiosity is a cruel thing. It whispers, what if you misunderstood? What if they didn't mean it like that? So Saturday I drove home. The moment I pulled into the driveway, nostalgia hit me. The trimmed lawn, the porch light glowing like a false welcome, the smell of barbecue in the air. For a second it almost felt like childhood. Almost. Then I walked in. Rach. Mom beamed, arms wide. You made it. I hugged her stiffly. Her perfume smelled like expensive roses, and guilt. Dad gave me his usual half-smile. Hey kiddo. Long time. Olivia sat at the table, perfect as always. New nails, new watch, same smug expression. Wow, she said, eyeing me up and down. You actually look nice. New shirt. I forced a smile. Yeah. Bought it with my miserable paycheck. The air froze for a second. Mom's smile faltered. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said sweetly. Just thought I'd lighten the mood. Dinner began, steak, mashed potatoes, the works. They chatted like nothing was wrong. Dad bragged about Olivia's promotion at the bank. Mom talked about their trip to Florida. No one asked about my job, my apartment, my life. And then, between bites, Olivia said it, casually, like flicking a match into gasoline. Mom told me you've been struggling. You know, financially. Maybe you should just move back home. We'll take care of you. The words hit like a punch. That's when I realized, the call wasn't just talk. They meant it. They'd already decided who I was. The failure, the sad daughter, the charity case. I set my fork down slow and steady. You think I can't take care of myself? Dad sighed, patronizing. Rachel, we're just trying to help. By laughing about me behind my back? The table went still. Mom's hand froze midair, holding her wine glass. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice suddenly tight. I leaned forward, my voice quiet, controlled, dangerous. I heard everything. The other night. You forgot to hang up the phone. Silence. Olivia looked at Mom. Mom looked at Dad. Dad looked at his plate. Then Mom laughed, too loud, too bright. Oh, sweetheart, she said, we were just joking. You know how we tease. Tease, I repeated. Right. Like calling me miserable. Or pathetic. Or saying living with me would be unbearable. Olivia rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic, Rachel. You always are. That word again. Dramatic. I stood up, chair scraping hard against the floor. You're right, Liv. I am dramatic. But you haven't seen anything yet. I left my untouched plate, my fake family, and their plastic laughter behind. As I walked out, I heard Mom whisper, not to me but to the others. Let her go. She'll come crawling back when life humbles her again. I smiled. They had no idea. Life wasn't about to humble me. I was about to humble them. That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in my car outside their house, watching the golden light flicker through the curtains like a warm lie. They were inside, laughing, clinking glasses, probably talking about me again. And I realized something sharp and cold. They'd never see me as their equal, only as their shadow. So I decided to stop playing small. The next morning I started digging. Because every perfect family has a secret, and mine was overdue for exposure. At work, between coffee orders, I opened my laptop and did what any modern detective does. Social media. Olivia's page was full of smiles. New apartment, new car, expensive bags. Too expensive. Her caption under a picture of a luxury handbag read, "Dreams don't work unless you do, kiss mark briefcase." Cute. Except she worked part-time at a bank branch. No way she could afford half the things she flaunted. That was my first clue. So I dug deeper. Scrolling, cross-checking, late-night lurking, until something caught my eye. A tag. A man named Ethan Blake. Every photo with him looked curated. Luxury dinners, hotel lobbies, champagne glasses. But the man wasn't in her following list anymore. Weird. I searched his name. And my stomach dropped. Ethan Blake wasn't just some boyfriend. He was the regional manager of Olivia's bank. Married with 2 kids. And his wife. She'd filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. The reason listed in the court record? Marital misconduct. I sat back, heart racing as it all clicked into place. My sister's perfect life was built on someone else's destruction. An affair turned toxic and maybe worse. No wonder Mom and Dad were so desperate to keep her untouchable. No wonder they couldn't afford to have me expose her flaws. They'd always protected her image, even if it meant shattering mine. But this time they weren't the only ones holding cards. That night I printed the court records. The dates, the names, the signatures. All of it. Then I texted Olivia. Hey, want to grab coffee tomorrow? Just as sisters. My treat. Hot beverage. She replied instantly. Sure. Finally. I was starting to think you hated me, face blowing a kiss. I smiled. Finally. That word was perfect. Finally she'd know what it felt like to lose control. The next day I met her at a downtown cafe. She looked flawless. Silk blouse, diamond earrings, that same blinding confidence. He hugged me. See? We can still be friends. Of course, I said softly. You're my sister. We just need to be honest with each other, right? She raised an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? I slid an envelope across the table. She opened it. The color drained from her face. Court records. Ethan Blake's name. The word misconduct. Her fingers trembled. Where did you? Doesn't matter, I cut in. But I think Dad would be very disappointed if he knew the truth about your modeling career. Or should I say your side hustle? Her jaw clenched. You wouldn't. I leaned closer. Wouldn't I? The cafe buzzed around us, but we were in our own silent storm. You took everything from me, Liv, I whispered. My family, my dignity. So here's the deal, you fix it. You tell Mom and Dad the truth. Or I will. Her eyes burned. You're insane. I stood, smiling calmly. No, Olivia. I'm finally sane. I walked out, leaving her shaking, clutching the papers like a lifeline. Outside, the air felt cleaner, lighter. But as I reached my car, my phone buzzed with a new text. From Dad. We need to talk. Now. Somehow Olivia had beaten me to it. The war had officially begun. Dad's text came in cold and commanding. We need to talk. Now. My stomach twisted. For a second I considered ignoring it, letting them sweat in their curated little world of lies. But curiosity? That's a poison I can't resist. So I drove. When I pulled up to their house, the lights were on. Through the window I saw Mom pacing, arms crossed. Olivia was sitting on the couch, red-eyed but still pretending to be the victim. And Dad? He stood by the fireplace, hands on his hips, the disappointed father, act locked and loaded. I walked in. No one said a word. Then Mom started. Rachel, what were you thinking? Threatening your sister like that? I froze. Threatening? I was holding her accountable. Olivia sniffled dramatically. You embarrassed me in public. You could have ruined my job. I laughed. A low, humorless sound. Your job? Sleeping with your boss while his wife filed for divorce. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. The sound echoed like thunder through the room. He glared at me. Do you have any idea how dangerous this is? Do you think this is some game? Ethan could sue her for defamation. I stared at him, stunned. You knew. He looked away. That tiny gesture was all the confirmation I needed. You knew, I whispered, my voice shaking. You knew what she was doing, and you still protected her. Mom's voice softened, her tone sickly sweet. Rachel, your sister made a mistake. We're handling it privately. There's no need to make this uglier. I took a step back, heat rising in my chest. You mean there's no need to ruin her reputation like you ruined mine? Got it. Dad's jaw tightened. You've always been jealous, Rachel. That's your problem. The word sliced deep. Jealous. That word again. The lazy excuse they used every time I called out their hypocrisy. I clenched my fist. I wasn't jealous when I cleaned up her messes. When I covered for her drunk driving. When I gave her money from my savings because Mom said she was struggling. Olivia shot back, voice sharp now. You didn't have to. You chose to. Don't act like some saint. I turned toward her. You're right. I chose to help because I thought family meant something. Then I looked at Mom. But it doesn't, does it? Not here. Not when your golden child can do no wrong. Mom's eyes flickered. Rachel, you're overreacting. You always. Overreacting. I interrupted. My voice trembled, not with fear but fury. You've been stealing my peace for years and calling it love. I'm done. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. But Dad's voice stopped me. If you walk out that door, Rachel, don't bother coming back. I froze for half a second. Then I smiled, small, sad but free. I wasn't planning to. And I left. That night my phone blew up. Texts, calls, voicemails. None of them from my parents. All from Ethan Blake. The last one made my blood run cold. You made a big mistake, Rachel. You don't know what she told me about you. My hands shook. What did she tell him? And then the fear turned into something else. Fire. If Olivia wanted to drag me into her dirt, fine. But she'd soon learn that I could bury her with it. The next morning I made a call of my own, to Ethan's wife's attorney. Because revenge wasn't about rage anymore. It was about redemption. The phone call lasted 12 minutes. By the end of it, I wasn't shaking with fear anymore. I was shaking with purpose. Her name was Claire Blake, Ethan's wife. Or ex-wife, technically. And when I introduced myself, she didn't sound angry or suspicious. She just sighed like she'd been waiting for this moment. I was wondering when someone from your family would grow a conscience, she said quietly. Those words stuck to my ribs. We met that afternoon at a quiet cafe on the west side of town. One of those places with warm light and soft jazz, where people pretend they're not falling apart over coffee. She was elegant, composed. But her eyes, they carried that same hollow exhaustion I saw in my mirror every morning. Two women who'd been blindsided by people they trusted most. He didn't waste time. He lied to me for 8 months. Told me he was mentoring your sister. I believed him, until the photos started showing up. She slid her phone across the table. Pictures. Olivia and Ethan. Hotel balconies, beach weekends, matching robes. My chest tightened. She used him, Claire continued. Said she'd help him feel alive again. But when he stopped paying for her apartment, she blackmailed him with these. I looked up sharply. Blackmailed? Claire nodded. She threatened to leak the photos to his company and ruin his career. That's why he filed for divorce. That's why he's been sending you those messages. He thinks you're in on it. My stomach dropped. I hadn't just stepped into my sister's mess. I was knee-deep in it. Claire, I said slowly, if I gave you proof that she's been taking money from my parents, using them to cover her lies, could that help your case? She smiled for the first time. It wouldn't just help. It would destroy her mask completely. That night I went home and tore through my old files. Bank transfers. PayPal statements. Screenshots. Years of loans Mom convinced me to send for Olivia's emergencies. I added one last document. The proof that my father's monthly $3,500 allowance was being rerouted straight into Olivia's account. I scanned everything, zipped it up and sent it to Claire. 10 minutes later my phone buzzed with her reply. You just gave me everything I need. Thank you, Rachel. But you should be careful. She's not going to go down quietly. He was right. The next morning I woke up to 30 missed calls. From Mom. From Dad. And from Olivia. Her final voicemail was venom in a bottle. You think you're smarter than me? You have no idea who you're dealing with. You just destroyed our family, and for what? To play hero? Well, congratulations. You're about to lose everything. I sat there frozen. A text from my boss. Rachel, we need to talk about the email I just received. My blood ran cold. I rushed to work, heart hammering, and walked straight into the storm. He was waiting at my desk, his expression unreadable. Rachel, he said, someone sent us screenshots claiming you falsified reports to cover financial discrepancies. They came from your sister's email. My knees nearly buckled. Olivia had gone nuclear. That night, I packed a bag and checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I sat on that creaky bed, laptop open, staring at a blank document. And I started typing. Every transaction, every voicemail, every betrayal. If she wanted war, I'd give her one, but on my terms. Truth for truth. Lie for lie. Because sometimes revenge isn't about striking first. It's about waiting for the right moment to end it completely. I learned early that truth is loud when you let it breathe. So I opened the windows I'd been keeping shut. Claire had a lawyer with practiced patience and a press contact who smelled a story a mile away. We didn't leak. We released everything. Bank statements with highlighted transfers, the RSVP emails where Olivia thanked Ethan for being her rock, screenshots of Mom's messages begging me to keep things quiet, and the voicemail where Olivia threatened Claire's husband with leaked photos if he ever left her. I packaged it into a single brutal chronology titled The Carter File and pushed it into a small anonymous subreddit that specialized in familial fraud and lies. It was 2:17 a.m. when it hit. The post started slow. A few hundred eyes, a handful of comments. Then something heavy and hungry found it. Within 3 hours the thread exploded. Screenshots, outraged replies, screenshots of my screenshots. Redditors cross-posted it to Twitter, then to Instagram. A YouTuber with 1 million subscribers grabbed the files, narrated the timeline, and draped it in cinematic music. By dawn, people who'd never met me were calling me brave, messy, delusional, righteous. The internet does both at once. My phone wouldn't stop. Notifications chimed like bells. Claire's attorney sent an update. Ethan's company has launched an internal inquiry. Divorce expedited. My lawyer texted. Local paper requests comment. We should meet. A reporter's email arrived with the subject line. Is the Carter family a charade? Dad called after the first article went live. His voice was thin like someone walking on glass. They're saying your name is everywhere, Ratch. It's my name because it's my truth, I said. I didn't tell him how strange it felt to read myself on other people's screens, like seeing your reflection in someone else's window. Mom called too. She left 3 voicemails that I didn't listen to. Olivia sent texts that turned vicious. You'll regret this. You have no allies. I archived them, then forwarded them to Claire's counsel. Evidence creates its own allies. By midday, the local news ran a segment. The anchor's voice was bored, then hungry. Allegations of financial misconduct and marital scandal rock an otherwise quiet suburban family. Clips of our neat house flashed on TV. A neighbor gave a sympathetic quote about charity drives and bake sales. The world was savoring the unmaking of their favorite illusion. I watched it all from a diner booth, cheap coffee cooling as strangers scrolled past my story. People I'd served without a second thought stopped to ask if I was okay. A woman I'd once helped with a spilled latte reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Small mercies taste like salt. There were consequences. My boss suspended me pending an HR probe Olivia had manufactured. The bank where Olivia worked placed her on administrative leave. Dad's phone blew up with lawyer calls. Mom's friends started turning away in grocery stores. The house that had been a museum of fakery became a gallery of whispering visitors and curious glances. But the strangest part was how the truth stripped things from us that weren't lies. The pretend warmth at holidays, the casual dinners, the idea that we could all simply apologize and move on. Those were gone. In their place rose a bright, raw accountability I had wanted for years but never dared to name. That night, as the city lights bled into the rain, I sat on my apartment roof and watched the glow wash the concrete. The Carter file had done what I couldn't. It made the private public. But making it public didn't feel like revenge. It felt like opening a window in a room that had been barred shut for decades. Below, somewhere in the house I'd once called home, a plate cracked against the floor. It sounded ordinary, a drop of ceramic, but to me it was an instrument. A note struck in the dark. I breathed in the cool air and let the noise settle. The world had heard us now. The next move would decide whether they. By sunrise, everything my parents had built, the illusion of a perfect, smiling family, was ash in the wind. But the storm hadn't peaked yet. It was just circling. Olivia tried to fight back. She went live on Instagram, tears trembling on cue. The golden girl in damage control mode. Please don't believe the lies, she sobbed to her followers. My sister's been jealous for years. She's trying to destroy me because she hates seeing me happy. She even held up an old photo of us as kids, arms around each other, ice cream on our faces. She captioned it, "Blood doesn't always mean family broken heart." It worked at first. Her followers flooded the comments with sympathy, calling me cruel, unstable, toxic. For 24 hours she had the crowd. But then came Claire. Claire didn't do live streams or crying selfies. She went straight to the press with receipts. Screenshots of text exchanges between Olivia and Ethan, bank statements showing money transfers labeled "hush," voice recordings where Olivia bragged about owning her boss and keeping the family image spotless. By noon, #GoldenSisterExposed was trending. Her brand collaborations dropped her within hours. The bank released a statement suspending both Ethan and Olivia, pending ethical review. And just like that, the internet flipped. The same followers who called me jealous were now calling her a manipulative fraud. The comments turned brutal. All that fake crying for likes. Her sister was right all along. You can't gaslight the whole internet, Olivia. The girl who once lived for the spotlight was suddenly drowning in it. That evening I got a call from Mom. Her voice cracked in a way I'd never heard before. "Rachel, your sister, she's not leaving her room. Your father's, he's furious. You've gone too far this time." I closed my eyes. Too far. I whispered. Mom, you taught me that protecting the family means burying the truth. I'm just done digging graves. She didn't respond. Just breathed into the phone, shallow, broken breaths before hanging up. Hours later, there was a knock on my apartment door. When I opened it, Olivia stood there. Mascara streaked, hoodie pulled tight, shaking like she was standing in a snowstorm only she could feel. For the first time in years, she looked small. "Why, Rachel?" she whispered. "You could have just talked to me. You didn't have to destroy me." I stared at her, the sister who'd stolen my parents' love, my peace, and nearly my career. And yet, in that moment, all I saw was a broken mirror of myself. "You destroyed yourself, Liv," I said softly. "I just stopped cleaning up after you." She flinched, then laughed, bitter, hollow. "You sound just like Mom." "No," I said, voice steady. "I sound like the person you turned me into." She took a step back, tears spilling. "You think this makes you strong? You'll end up alone, Rachel. You already are." Her words hit, but they didn't sink. Because loneliness had been my roommate for years. The difference was now I'd invited it in. I watched her walk away, shoulders hunched, headlights flashing over her before she vanished into the dark. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like chasing after her. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, lit by the glow of my phone screen. Emails were flooding in, journalists, podcasts, advocates. Everyone wanted the story behind the Carter file. But I didn't reply. Not yet. Because this wasn't about viral fame anymore. It was about something deeper, the quiet kind of revenge that doesn't roar, it rebuilds. I looked at my reflection in the dark window, tired, older, but free, and whispered to myself, almost there. It was raining the night I drove back to that house. Not a dramatic storm, just the steady kind of rain that softens the world, washing dirt into the gutters where it belongs. I hadn't been there in months. The porch light was still the same soft amber glow that used to mean home. Now it just looked tired. When Dad opened the door, he didn't look angry, he looked old. Like the weight of everything had finally caught up. "Rachel," he said quietly. "Come in." Mom was sitting in the living room, hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had probably gone cold hours ago. Olivia wasn't there. The air was heavy with the ghosts of words we'd all thrown at each other. I sat down. No one spoke for a full minute. The clock on the mantel ticked like a heartbeat. Finally, Dad exhaled. "Your sister left town. Said she needed space." I nodded. "Good for her." He looked at me. "You think you did the right thing?" I met his gaze. "No. I know I did." He sighed, a long, tired sound. "You humiliated this family, Rachel. Everything we built." I cut him off. "You mean everything you pretended to build? The lies, the favoritism, the blind eyes. You didn't raise a family, Dad. You raised a hierarchy." Mom flinched, but I kept going. "You let Olivia take and take until there was nothing left for anyone else. And when she broke, you blamed me for not cleaning up the pieces." My father's jaw tightened. "We did what we thought was best." I leaned forward. "No, you did what was easy. And now it's all falling apart because truth isn't supposed to live in cages." For a long time, none of us said a word. Then Mom whispered, "We lost both our daughters." I swallowed hard. "No, Mom. You lost your reflection. You just never learned to love the one that didn't shine as bright." I stood. There was nothing left to argue. Some wars don't end with victory, just silence. But before I left, I placed an envelope on the coffee table. Inside were two things: a cashier's check, my remaining savings, a letter. In the letter I wrote, "I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. You can rebuild or you can keep pretending. Either way, I'm done being your scapegoat. Rachel." When I stepped outside, the rain had eased into a mist. The air smelled new, like wet earth and endings. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove without looking back. Halfway down the street, my phone buzzed. A new message. From Claire. "Court closed. Case settled. Olivia won't be testifying, she disappeared. Thought you should know. You did the right thing." I smiled faintly, eyes stinging. Somewhere out there, my sister was learning what it meant to face herself. And somewhere inside me, the little girl who used to beg for fairness finally exhaled. Weeks passed. Life didn't magically fix itself, but it finally belonged to me. I started freelancing, moved to a small place by the water, and let quiet replace chaos. Sometimes I'd catch myself scrolling through old photos. The four of us smiling on the porch, pretending we were whole. And for the first time I didn't feel bitterness. Just distance. Revenge hadn't burned me. It had purified me. Because the truth is, justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "You're free now."